So with this brief introduction and detailed information regarding cold stress, I will go into next stress, that is flooding stress. Flooding stress is the condition where the plants will submerged or experience the submergence during this condition. Particularly root organelle will be affected during this flooding stress condition. Why? Because root will be completely submerged in water. It will create the anoxia and hypoxia condition in the plant, where this will induce the ethylene production. This ethylene production will induce the senescence genes. This leads to the senescence of the plant. Ultimately, it will lead to the death of the plant. So these are some of the effects of flooding stress at different levels. And as I told in earlier stress also, there will be production in organic compounds during this flooding condition also, and this will lead to oxidative tension, and this will inhibit the metabolic activities of the plants, and this will lead to the cell death. So how to mitigate this flooding stress? The plant will switch on to the alternative plant metabolism pathway, that is anaerobic glycolytic pathway or fermentative metabolism. And another one is antioxidant activity that detoxifies the effect of reactive oxidant species, particularly with enzymatic pathway. And apart from this, there will be expression of each of transcription factors in response to anoxia condition. There will be accumulation of osmolytes, obviously, such as sugars and amino acids plays a major role during flooding conditions. And apart from this, we can implicate the approach called metabolomics to improve the crop, particularly for flooding stress, by identifying the key regulatory genes in the flooding stress condition. So coming to salinity stress condition, salinity stress will be created when the plant is exposed to higher salt condition. This condition will create it through two stresses. One is through osmotic stress and ionic stress. And what is the difference between this osmotic stress and ionic stress? Osmotic stress is the stress where the cell experiences with the reduction in water content, particularly by inhibiting the water uptake, and cell elongation will be reduced. And ionic stress will be produced when the ions, particularly sodium and chlorine ions, are increased in the cell. When ions are increased, there will be reduction in photosynthesis, or enzyme activity will be inhibited during this ionic stress condition. Under this stressful condition, the plant switch to the pathways like signaling cascades will be open to the plants to regulate this from the salt stress condition, that is through SOS pathway. So this SOS pathway will regulate the plant to maintain the salinity stress or overcome the salinity stress condition. And these are some of the response of the plants at different level during the stressful condition. And apart from this SOS pathway, the plant has other pathways like extrusion, like it will remove the sodium or chlorine, excess chlorine or sodium ions from the cells through compartmentalization and through lower sodium accumulation or through potassium retention. And this is called as ion homeostasis. Basically, through ion homeostasis, plants will overcome the salinity stress conditions. Apart from this, during salt stress conditions also, plant overcome the stressful condition by accumulating the organic scavenging compounds. Apart from this, it will maintain the membrane stability through reactive oxidant species scavenging compounds. So there will be some modifications with the cell wall modifications will happen during the salinity stress conditions. So this is all about salt stress condition. Coming to heavy metal stress condition in plants, this heavy metal stress is induced by heavy metals like cadmium, lead, aluminium, particularly due to industrial waste outputs. particularly along with this industrial waste outputs, due to sprays, lot of sprays which includes like aluminum as a basic material. So what this heavy metal will do, this heavy metal will mainly obstruct the calcium cascades in the cell, and this will indirectly reduces the ability of the plant to make its metabolic activities. So here also there will be reactive oxygen species production, there will be decrease in water potential, protein oxidation, there will be cell death because of a lot of effects on metabolic and physiological activities, and these are some of the direct and indirect effects of heavy metal stress on the plants. So when the plant is under heavy metal stress, there will be activation of plant defensive system, that is through enzymatic defensive system, and other is non-enzymatic defensive system. As I told earlier, enzymatic defensive system will be composed of catalase, superoxide dismutase, and peroxidase activities, and non-enzymatic defensive system through ascorbic acid, alpha tocopherol, etc. And through these pathways, the plant will sustain under heavy metal stress. Then, after explaining about after covering most of the abiotic stress condition and adaptive mechanism in plants, let me explain about biotic stress condition. Particularly under biotic stress condition, plants will adapt systemic acquired resistance or rhizobacteria-mediated induced systemic resistance, and these are some of the alternative responses of plants to overcome adverse conditions. Particularly, it is through systemic acquired resistance. During this systemic acquired resistance system, there will be pathogenesis related proteins will be synthesized in the plant, and these plants will overcome the situation by inducing the signaling cascades, further signaling cascades. And then other pathway is jasmonic acid pathway. This jasmonic acid signaling pathway leads to the production of defensive compounds like alkaloids, phenols, tocopherols will be increased in the plants in order to overcome the biotic stress condition. Particularly when the plant is wounded by the insect or due to pathogen, this plant will overcome through systemic acquired resistance or through jasmonic acid pathways. And apart from these pathways, the plants as a physical barriers, that is thorns, trichomes, and waxy layers act as physical barriers. Mainly, as I told in initial slides, waxy layers not only helps in abiotic stress, this waxy layers also helps in helps as a physical barrier, particularly during pathogen and insects attack. So cell wall reinforcement. Cell wall reinforcement means there will be increase in lignin production, lignin and suberin deposition on the cell wall in order to reduce the invasion of the pathogen, and this makes pathogen harder to penetrate plant tissues. Apart from these mechanisms, plants has other mechanisms also, that is through secondary metabolites production. Secondary metabolites, as I told in earlier slides, phenols, flavonoids, and secondary metabolites to reduce the pathogen effect or during the abiotic stress condition. Apart from this, plants also have some of the other mechanisms like phytoalexins, and all this will reduce the pathogen attack and helps to reduce pathogen proliferation in case of plant system. So with this detailed explanation in regard to abiotic stress condition and biotic stress condition, as well as the adaptive mechanism in particular stressful condition, I would like to incorporate some points during this time is so we can implicate some crop improvement approaches in order to improve certain traits, particularly like root traits or the high temperature. As I told, during high temperature there will be spike in some genes. So if we identify a gene which is responsible for particularly for particular stress, like say for example drought stress or high temperature stress, we can incorporate through crop improvement approaches like transgenics or through genomic editing, like CRISPR aspects can be implicated to overcome these stressful conditions. So with this, like these crop improvement approaches can be implicated to overcome the stressful conditions or adverse conditions in the plant. So with this brief introduction and detailed information regarding to abiotic stress condition, let me end this session, and thank you, Arundel, for this patience.